We may not be the best farmers, but we've learned a thing or two over the years, and this is our 10 lessons learned in our 4th year farming. We are Red Roof Family Farm here in Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada, and we grow veggies and flowers on 2.5 acres that we sell down at our local farmers market and also from a roadside stand. And this year we made some really big changes.
Every year we make this video as a way to learn from our own mistakes. So we've made this video in years 1 through 3. Make sure to go check out those videos because every year there's different things to learn.
Lesson 1 is the customer is always right. And this has been my personal theme for the entire year. What I mean by this isn't the, Karen causing a fit in the retail store telling the manager that the customer's always right. What I mean by this is that you need to look at what is actually selling in order to know what your customers are doing. You can't listen to your customers, you need to just look at the hard numbers. And so this year, because we were doing a total, change up on the farm, I, didn't want to be pulled by the things that I felt or the things that Ian felt we were seeing. I didn't want to be influenced by the words that I was hearing from the customers, of the requests, and all that. What I only wanted to look at is what was selling. And by doing that, we were able to, really maximize our sales. One of the examples that I'd use for this is, so every week we were making bouquets that we would send down to the farmer's market. I would make 6 to 10 of the exact same colors, and I would know what I sent down to the market. And then when Ian would come home, he'd be able to tell me, oh, this one sold out first, and this bucket, that's all exactly the same, is what was left over at the end of the market. And I was able to use what was selling to determine what I should be making for my customers in the following week. And so it doesn't really matter if, on Instagram, everyone's saying that they love pink or that, the person who bought the pink bouquet was the most excited out of all the customers. What only matters is if 10 pink bouquets go down to the market, that 0 pink bouquets come back. And overall, the feedback doesn't always match those numbers. So remember, the customer is always right, but the customer is the sale. The customer isn't the person standing in front of you telling you they would buy something. It's only the money in your hand. Farming isn't easy, but if I can learn farming, I can learn anything. And so with the help of our sponsor, Babbel, I'm currently working on improving my Spanish for an upcoming Mexico vacation. Babbel is one of the top language learning apps in the world, with lessons designed by actual language teachers to prepare you to have real-world conversations about travel, business, relationships, and more. I suck at learning languages. In fact, I've taken 4 years of Spanish, and 2 of them was in university. But Babbel is scientifically proven to help you start speaking a new language in 3 weeks with a 20-day money-back guarantee. I found the app super simple to use, and I'm able to build my language skills while still being on the go, so it's easy to fit in study time every day. So far, I've learned some really useful vacation phrases like soy una granjera and amo las semillas. Check out the link below to get 60% off your subscription and let me know what language you would like to learn this new year. Lesson 2 is do one thing right. And this was completely transformative to our farm this year. We had been being a veggie farm who sold some flowers, all the past years. But in year 4, we decided that isn't what we're going to be anymore. We looked through our numbers for the previous 3 years and we realized there was only 3 items that we were making money on. And that was flowers, salad mix, and carrots. And I decided we can't not make money anymore. So going into year 4, the plan was only flowers, veggies, and carrots. Early in the spring, we had some, crop issues. Our lettuce failed and the carrots were off to a really, really slow start, but we had an amazing amount of tulips. We had these incredible ranunculus. We just had an amazing spring flower season. And because of that, the ball got rolling really hard on flower sales. And rather than trying to divert ourselves back to the lettuce and the carrots that had been part of the plan, we just stuck with only flowers. And having infinitely less labor this, year 4, in year 3, we had an employee, just having that focus on that one profitable crop meant that we sold, way more than we did the year before. And we did it with so much less struggle.
Lesson 3, be open to change. So it was a pretty big change for us to drop the veggies from, the market sales and just to go with flowers. I was resistant. It was intimidating to me. I really like growing food. It makes you feel good. It's fun to talk to people about, all the food, and it's just fun to be surrounded by food, right? Everybody loves it. It was hard to give it up. But we do have to be a business, and the flowers were obviously, the more profitable crop to grow. If we hadn't accepted the fact that we needed to change the way things were done on the farm, then, we might be having a very different conversation right now. Our sales grew a lot this last year, and if they didn't do that, we might have been talking about shutting down the farm, starting some other walk of life, So change was necessary for us to realize the potential of the farm. And now that we've embraced the fact that the farm is a flower farm primarily, then it feels like, we're only just getting started as far as what the sales can be and the revenue possibilities of it. So
lots of change.
Yeah, it kind of unlocked...
Lots more change.
It unlocked a lot of potential that wasn't there and wasn't even, it didn't even seem like a possibility.
Lesson 4 is less is more.
By only selling flowers down at the farmer's market, my quality of life went way up. It was way easier to just bring down, a bunch of bouquets. When you are selling veggies and you're trying to bring this wide selection of food, there's so many different types of containers you have to bring and displays and price points. All of these things complicate the day. And they made it so that from the morning I woke up for the market to, 12 hours later, I was just going like every single moment. I was thinking, I was working, and I came home and I was just really, really exhausted. But the flowers, there was no making change with all the price points being $20 bills. It was easy to deal with the customers, which meant that I could spend more time just talking to people. And, the setup was easy because it wasn't like I need to move this to move that to get everything to fit. It was like you just go, you put the flowers out, maybe you shift a few buckets around. But in general, the display went together way easier, so I was able to sleep in a little bit more and still...
you got to sleep in an hour every single week, which makes a huge difference when you're talking about getting up at 3 in the morning versus 4 in the morning.
Yeah, and it wasn't only just that I got to sleep in more, but then I would still be more casual in the morning than, had I been selling all the veggies. With the lighter workload, I'm now open to doing multiple markets a week, whereas before that seemed like a recipe for burnout. So less is more.
Lesson 5 is more too. What we mean by this is don't underestimate how much money you think your customers are willing to spend. We sell a $20 bouquet as our standard item. And it's not a very big bouquet. It's the type of thing you can put in a small vase, but it's not like a big, huge centerpiece. But we're very nervous about the idea of sending something that had these higher price points. Doing the $20 bouquet previously with the veggies, it already was so much more expensive than anything else on the table. We were selling $3 bunches of carrots, and then beside it was this $20 bouquet. So it already felt really expensive. But having only flowers this year, I wanted to see if we could do more. And so we sent down a $40 bouquet. We knew that people like to order $30 bouquets from us, but visually I wanted the more expensive bouquet to look a lot larger than the $20 bouquet. And the $40 bouquet did. Yeah. They were these big, beautiful bouquets. Every week I did about 10 of them, 9 or 10. and they mostly sold. I was really amazed at how well they would sell. And Ian even said sometimes someone would come and buy two $40 bouquets and a $20 bouquet, which means that, you know, maybe there is a market for a $100 bouquet. Maybe there is a market for, you know, something even more high-end for us to experiment in the years to come. Lesson 6 is you can only do so much. This year, the whole plan was to do less, not only to be growing less options, but to, you know, kind of be really focused on where we were selling, you know, just doing the one farmer's market, but doing it right. And the reason for that is last year we had an employee, and having the employee was amazing. We got a ton done, but we didn't sell any of what we grew. So we only wanted to be doing what we could sell because we really needed to have those sales numbers come close to matching the labor numbers, which, you know, they never had in all the previous years. Because of that, you know, we've already said we gave up on the carrots and the salad mix. You know, we were just really focused. We wanted to make sure every day the roadside stand was open, you know, so the focus was pick the flowers that I need to make the bouquets for the day in the roadside stand, get them out on the stand, and then only then see what else we could do.
This was a tough one for me because I am, you know, concerned with the aesthetics of the farm. I like it to look good on camera. And part of that is, you know, weeding. And the truth about weeding is sometimes it really matters, and other times it doesn't really matter that much. And especially with the flowers, you know, flowers, if they're stressed, sometimes they just grow taller and have better stem length.
And so many of our flowers are the weeds anyways.
Yeah, and so, you know, for me, I had to just step back. Sometimes I'd be like, I want to go weed this area, but it would have taken me, you know, 5 hours. And then I had something that was actually more productive that would actually contribute as opposed to just pure aesthetics. So it was tough for me, but I think I was pretty successful in not really focusing on the aesthetics as much. And I think that the farm really benefited from that.
Lesson 7 is it takes money to make money. And this is specifically about buying plugs. Up until this point, everything that we planted on the farm, we have grown ourselves. But in year 3, I spent $100 on Lisianthus seeds, and I spent 3 months trying to grow them. And in the end, I got 0 Lisianthus flowers. So I was not gonna do that again. But if I can figure out how to have cut flower Lisianthus, we can make a lot of money on that. So I ordered in for March Lisianthus plugs, grown by someone else, fussed over by someone else, you know, 100% germination in those trays, and they were incredible. They, you know, in the matter of a couple hours, I was able to plant out a greenhouse instead of, I don't know, I can't even be like hundreds of man hours to get it to that point. The cost was actually a lot more reasonable than I thought it would be. I was nervous about having live plants get shipped to me all the way from California. They were in the mail for like 5 days or something. Yeah. I thought they were gonna be dead. No problems, they came out perfect. And going into next year, you know, we're thinking even more about what can we get in plugs? Like we want everything in plugs if possible. A lot of the stuff that we grow, we direct seed just because plugs are, you know, they take a lot of labor. So, you know, in the year coming, we got those Lisianthus again, but we're trying out snapdragons. We're trying out a few other, you know, spring crops. That means that rather than right now stressing out and starting seeds for the new season, you know, I still have another month until I have to start work. Lesson 8 is easier crops equal more money. And what I mean by this is you really need to look at your labor when it comes to what you're growing. It doesn't matter that you can grow something and sell it for $10 each if the amount of labor you have to put in is $12. It means you're losing money. So, you know, we had known this lesson already in a way in the narrowing in of our crop focus, right? By choosing only the things that we were making money on. But now that we're narrowed into flowers, We need to do that even more again. With flowers, there's lots that, you could pick 1,000 stems out of the bed, but they don't sell for very much money. They sell for 50 cents each. And the labor that it takes to pick that 50-cent stem is 4 times as much labor as what it would be to, pick a different stem that sells for an even higher price. Going into future years, I'm really focused on what picks quickly. I'm really focused on spray style flowers. That means it's one stem with a bunch of buds on it, because doing that means I'm going to speed up how fast it takes to make bouquets. The Lisianthus is a perfect example. I could take one stem of Lisianthus, put it into a bouquet, and it would fill the bouquet. But picking one stem, processing the leaves off one stem, handling one stem in a bouquet, that's all time, which is money, that gets saved for me. So, now I'm starting to, really start to maximize what we're doing on the farm.
Lesson 9, small but mighty. This is about our roadside stand. Our 4th season was the first full year from start to finish that we had a roadside stand. We had completed it previously the last fall, and we only had it open for a couple weeks before the end of the season. And it did really well, so we were excited about it going into the 4th year. And then basically from the start of the season to the end, it was selling, if you averaged it out, it probably sold $150 a day out of the roadside stand. It was a place for customers to come that they could buy stuff without having to interact with us. So it kept our labor costs down. It was a place where special order customers could come and they could ring the doorbell, which would, get a hold of us. So it's kind of like a good way to interact with people where you didn't have to be like watching the parking lot all the time. And it was inviting to people, it was getting people looking and talking about our farm in our local community. So it was just so very successful for us. And we think that it's really only just started. The potential for it is very high. I could see a future when we're selling $400 a day out of it.
That'd be amazing.
That'd be amazing, but it doesn't seem that out of the way, because that's really only 20 people pulling over and buying a $20 bouquet a day, right? That doesn't seem like an insane amount of people when you figure that there's basically a car going by our house, every couple seconds. It's a busy road, right?
A couple things that I feel really made the roadside stand, as great as it was we had a doorbell camera inside the stand. It meant that we were able to, track the sales. We were able to see the people coming in and out of the stand. Just being able to check my phone down at the bottom of the property to see if we still had product rather than walking the 5 minutes there and back was amazing. I know that cameras help with theft. We haven't really had much issues with theft, but even just, for the efficiencies of using the stand that the camera did for us, as well as a way that customers could contact us easily. We also, when we built the stand, we spent a lot of money on it. It wasn't, we're just gonna throw it together with scrap wood on the property. It's insulated so that it has an air conditioner in it and it actually stays cool. It actually functions to keep the flowers, fresh and happy inside of it. We want it to look beautiful. We want people to pull over, and we actually ended up seeing people starting to kind of use it as a selfie spot, right? They'd have someone, take a picture of me with my flowers in front of all the flowers. And, that is the goal. And every year that we go forward, we're hoping to just make it more of that. We need to get water up there so that we can have plantings, but next year we're hoping that all along the road is going to just be a wall of flowers. We need to, improve our signs. We need to get more signboards. Just, making it better and better is going to make it more appealing to customers. Mm-hmm. And finally, lesson 10, not everything is precious. And this is a little painful for me because what I'm saying is I need to put more stuff into the compost pile rather than hoarding it, because I don't know if you can tell, but we have a lot of dead flowers all around us. And the reason is every year we've been saving flowers for dried flowers, and we have been selling more and more dried flowers every year. But, you know, we had like, you know, more than half an acre of flowers this year.
Yeah.
It's a lot more flowers than when we only had 2,000 square feet.
Not everything works as a dried flower.
You know, and so what I've come to realize is I don't need this many dried flowers, because the dried flowers, you know, the problem with them is sunk cost fallacy. You know, I feel like, oh, I've grown them. I've already put in the time and the effort and the money to grow these. I might as well dry them and save them and try to sell them at some point. But if I'm so busy drying flowers that I don't have any time to sell flowers, then they never make me any money. And so where we're at now with the dried flowers is it's physically difficult to manage them. We have more than we can efficiently manage. And because we have more than we can efficiently manage, it's, you know, it's just too hard to deal with. So they need to, next year, be hitting the compost pile. We need to be more intentional, only saving the best things to be dried. And we just, yet again, we need to streamline what we're doing to make our lives easier so that we can make more money. When we started the farm, we had a 5-year plan. We knew, you know, what we wanted to be doing to be able to have a sustainable business. Year 5 needed to have us grossing $100,000 in product so that it would be the equivalent of a full-time job. And, you know, having finished this year, it feels like we're still on track for being able to do that when, you know, over the past, it's, you know, it's been a bumpy road. So it feels pretty incredible to be standing here now thinking about, you know, what next year and the future years are going to mean. Without making mistakes, there wouldn't have been the same growth and learning. You know, we take these things that, you know, we've seen where there was, you know, lessons that were taught to us, and, you know, we've grown as people, we've grown and evolved the business. And I think that without doing that, you know, we wouldn't be where we are at now of, you know, on track for, you know, our personal success.
So if you haven't watched them already, make sure to check out our other 10 lesson learned videos from our other seasons, and stay tuned for our how much money we made in 2022 farming video, which will be coming out soon.